Day. We'll go back out to your calls in just a moment, but first I want to cover the situation in Seattle. The situation in Seattle is dire and getting worse. Incredibly strange. What you have is what they're calling an autonomous zone. They're calling it the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone, or CHAZ for short. It is essentially a 6-block area of downtown Seattle that has been completely taken over and is now being patrolled by armed Antifa patrols. Police are not allowed to go in there. They have been withdrawn from it, and they are now operating completely independently. What you're seeing on the screen now is the fact that these protesters have stormed City Hall in Seattle and are now demanding that the mayor step down for refusing to defund and abolish the police. So let that be a lesson. Even the most liberal, most giving, most capitulatory local governments, it's not enough. It will never be enough. Okay? You can literally give them a chunk of downtown to have as their own. You can give them everything they want, and it will not be enough. What they want is the complete destruction of our civilization. Is this so hard to comprehend? Apparently it is. There you go. You have signs up all around, barricades, armed guards walking around. Borders with walls, ironically enough. And they have issued a series of demands. It is incredibly long, so long, in fact, I don't have time to read all of them. But let's read a few of them, shall we? Here are some demands from the hostage takers currently occupying a sizable portion of a major U.S. city, experiencing no resistance, no pushback, completely allowed to do this by the government. Completely allowed, okay? No strength here, no winning here. This is capitulation and support from the power structure to the radical communist. Here are their demands. 1, the Seattle Police Department and attached court system are beyond reform. We do not request reform. We demand abolition. They demand abolition. They demand an end to the school-to-prison pipeline and the abolition of youth jails. Now, if you remember, the Valentine's Day shooting there in Parkland, Florida, one of the prime reasons that occurred was because that school system had entered a program to try to destroy the youth to prison pipeline. And what that meant was they stopped punishing students. They stopped punishing children. Gangs learned this. They started employing children to do crimes because they knew they would not be punished to stop the school to prison pipeline. And this was one of the reasons that the shooter in that situation was not punished, was not looked after. He was committing crimes, and yet he was allowed to continue to do so because they wanted to get those numbers down. They wanted to decrease that school-to-prison pipeline. The people in Seattle continue. We demand that not the city government nor the state government, but the federal government launch a full-scale investigation into past and current cases of police brutality in Seattle and Washington, as well as a reopening of all closed cases reported to the Office of Police Accountability. See, what really makes a good fascist, a good anti-fascist rather, whoops, little Freudian slip there. What makes a good anti-fascist is subjugation to a federal centralized government. Right. These are freedom fighters that are demanding that the federal government, the centralized country government, supersede the local government, right? Because they're anti-fascist. They say we demand reparations for victims of police brutality. Of course, in their mind, black people are the victims of police brutality. They demand reparations for black people. We demand that the city of Seattle make the names of officers involved in police brutality a matter of public record. They want vigilantism. They demand, get this, they demand a retrial of all people of color currently serving a prison sentence for a violent crime by a jury of their peers in their community. Okay? So forget the jury system. Forget due process. No. In their perfect world, all people of color will be judged by a group of partisan hacks who think that people of color can do no wrong and that they are consistently oppressed by the big bad white people. Death of justice, death of really, and that's just it, right? These people claim to be working against injustice, and yet their every demand is to destroy justice, destroy any semblance of justice that we've been able to carve out of the chaos of the natural world, any order we've attempted to impose upon the constant and inevitable criminal class within America or within any country. We've developed a system over thousands of years of trial and error and just working towards some semblance of justice and consistency. Well, they're about to do away with all of that, and they're being allowed to do so. And it goes on and on. Those are the first 6. There are, well, over 20 demands that they have, economic demands that include, we demand the de-gentrification of Seattle. Literally, what does that even mean? What does that even mean? Absolutely ridiculous. But this is happening all over the United States. In fact, you have Santa Monica City Council voting unanimously in support of the creation of a, quote, black agenda in the city to, quote, address systematic racism in Santa Monica and take actions to eradicate systematic racism within the city government and implement the black agenda. You know what's really going to help with segregation? You know what's really going to help with systematic racism is implementing the black agenda into the city government. It's not. Do I have to even comment on this stuff? Is it not obvious on its face where this is going and what is behind this? Is this so hard to understand for most people that this has nothing to do with justice? This has nothing to do with any real police brutality or systemic racism, that it is entirely an excuse to bring about socialism, communism, and the destruction of not just America as a historical national entity, but of the people that built, founded, create, and still make up America. I mean, it's just outrageous. And we have not a single person, right or left, that is doing anything to step up against this. The most I've seen from anybody that's not literally just kowtowing and capitulating and doing their bidding for them, from people like Mitch McConnell and anybody in the GOP at all, is like Ted Cruz will tweet out a picture of what Antifa's doing and just be like, not good. That's not good. It's like, no, it's not good. No, it's a civil war that's being fought. A one-sided civil war that is being waged against American people. Not good. Hashtag bad. Yeah, thanks, Ted Cruz. You did it. You saved the day. These people. And it's like, you know, I've always argued against the militarization of the police, the incredible funding that the police get. But, you know, at least maybe there would have been a reason for all of that to occur, for the police to become militaristic in the way that we've seen, if they actually used some of that power to actually protect the American people. But now, as we've seen it, when it comes down to it, all the money, all the power, all of the will that we have given over to the central government will not just not be used to protect us, it is now actively being used against us. Now, we knew this was happening the whole time. But it's not like we don't have the power to stop this. It's just that the people in charge are on the other team.